That was the week for April the 22nd, 2022. And Keith, it's you and I, the two of us. What does that say about the number two?
Exactly. It's one too many, Andrew. But the question is, which one?
Yeah, well, we are the G2. I did a show on my podcast this week about China, and I interviewed a guy who talked about the need for a G2. Get rid of everyone except the Americans and the Chinese. And you and I, we're the giants of tech, Keith.
Yeah, well, yes. The dwarfs, I would say. The dwarfs.
You don't sound very convinced. Well, some of the giants of tech have had a pretty rough week, Keith, right? Netflix.
Yeah.
I hear Netflix is finished. They're the next AOL, is that right?
Well, here's their 12-month stock chart. And you notice that number, $218.22, which was last night's number. It's gone down a bit more today. And look at that top and trace your eyes across to the left. You'll see it was $700 at the peak. So that is quite a big retracement.
But I know, Keith, you sold at 700, didn't you? Bought at 200, sold at 700.
I wish. I'm a holder. I hold.
That's what your wife says. Exactly.
It is indeed. When it comes to her stocks, that is. So Streaming Wars, a lot's happened this week on Streaming Wars.
I have to say that I am old enough to remember when Netflix has been written off so many times before that I intuitively don't write them off. Where are you on them?
My whole editorial is explaining why you can't write off a company that has 222 million paying subscribers globally and has yet to move into the freemium space where it has advertising supported content for people who can't pay so much. Yeah, the future is up and to the right, not flat or down, even though the graph of the stock makes it look flat and down.
Why did the stock collapse?
They lost 200,000 net subscribers in the quarter out of 220 million. It's kind of a drop in the ocean, but Wall Street is on a hair trigger right now when it comes to pricing a stock. Growth, we've talked about this a lot, but rate of growth is the key driver of price when it comes to shares. So if you don't grow in a quarter, if you shrink, theoretically at least, Wall Street could mark you down to zero.
So isn't Netflix clamping down on shared accounts? Is that one of the things that scared the market?
Well, I think that is something the market has misread. Yes, they are. My son from Syracuse actually pinged me saying Netflix is asking him to validate as part of the family.
We're all in the same situation. My kids are all on Netflix through my account. I've never understood why they had such a liberal account, why they let everyone on it.
Right. So they've closed that down. They're closing that down. They reckon roughly 100 million households globally are taking advantage of the password thing. Some of them legitimately because they're members of a family, others illegitimately because they're just friends of us sharing passwords. And they're closing it down, which, by the way, means there's going to be growth because the people who get closed down will end up subscribing directly.
It's an interesting... the question is, will my kids pay for their own Netflix? I don't know. But I think they would. They're so addicted to
it. I think they're most addicted to YouTube, where they don't pay. And then Netflix is a close second. And in my household, my kids ask me, they ask me for passwords when they want to watch something. They almost never ask me for passwords of any other service. Apple TV, maybe. That's about it.
Yeah. Same with me with Netflix. I don't watch it myself, but my story with Netflix is they're always thinking ahead. They're always one or two steps ahead of their competitors in the market. So why would this be different now?
I would not that I want to give anyone an investment advice, but this is a huge buying opportunity to buy Netflix at this price.
And Ackerman sold this week, right?
Who did?
Bill Ackerman.
I didn't follow
400 million. But with a guy like that, they're so smart. Who knows what they're really up to?
Yeah. But, if you go through the numbers, Netflix is 222 million subscribers, of which something like the big chunk is US and Canada.
Yeah.
Disney has altogether 130 million subscribers globally. HBO collectively has about 76 million. And then you get to Paramount Plus with 56 million, Peacock with 9 million, and Apple TV, which has 25 million. So Netflix is the gorilla. The rest, Apple is catching up. I mean, I don't know if I don't watch baseball, but I did peek. Apple now has Friday Night Baseball, and it's really well produced. It's fantastic quality.
Yeah.
And it's getting a big viewership.
Do we pay for Apple? I'm never clear with Apple. Is that one of the things that's bundled into the all-you-can-eat subscription they give us?
It is. If you do the Apple One, you get it, but you also get it for free if you buy an Apple TV device or a Mac or an iPhone.
Yeah, so I'm like 4 times in that. So
yeah, so Apple TV is doing fantastic. HBO is really doing well. The content's great, and Disney's doing well. And who's doing badly? And this isn't the story this week. That's what's so stunning. This is not the story, but who's doing badly is firstly broadcast cable and satellite.
Surprise, surprise.
And then news. CNN Plus closed down after only a month of being in existence because only 10,000 people paid for it. Now, why did that happen? Is it about news? Is news just not a subscriber product? Or is it about what CNN put in the package, and therefore they misfired? That's an interesting conversation. I personally think it's what they put in the package. The free stuff is so good. They had nothing left that was any good to put in the package. And they can't put the free stuff in the package because their contracts with cable companies, you and I have talked about this a lot, prevent them from doing the live news stream off of cable and broadcast and satellite. So they're locked into contracts, long-term contracts that prevent them having a good streaming service. Hence, their streaming service was rubbish. Hence, nobody subscribed to it. So news is still a puzzle, and sport is in the beginnings of going streaming, but only in the beginning.
We talked about that last week with the football, the English football subscriptions.
Yeah, but it's kind of, the end game to me is clear. You're going to be able to watch anything, and it will be streamed, and it will be saved in a view on demand, DVR in the cloud afterwards, and you won't have any cable connected to your TV other than the internet.
Yeah. And it's the same as music. I mean, it's as you say, it's inevitable, unavoidable. It's been obvious for 20 years. I mean, everyone's been talking about it. Nobody's gonna. I mean, there's always gonna be a few people left with television, but most people.
Well, NBC and CBS. NBC is owned by Comcast. CBS is owned by Viacom. Historically, they were like the big brands, even more than Fox and ABC. And in this new world, they don't have enough good content to have a compelling streaming service. I actually subscribe to both, but here's why. Peacock, the NBC-owned product, has the English Premier League, and Paramount has the European Champions League. That's why I subscribe.
Well, Manchester United are still in it, aren't they?
No, we got knocked out, as you know, Andrew. Pain. But we did get a new coach this week from Ajax, the Dutch.
He's a winner, isn't he?
Well, we won't know until we know. I mean, Manchester United has killed a lot of talent because of the overwhelming expectations that come with taking the job.
He doesn't come with any expectations because he even lost to Spurs.
Yeah, he did. Just
3-0 up at half-time.
Widely regarded as a lucky win for Spurs.
What, that you got the manager, or that we won through?
No, that when Spurs beat Ajax.
Well, I think that you wouldn't have beaten Mourinho that way, put it like that. Or, the top managers in Europe would not have given away a 3-0 advantage at home in the semi-final of the Champions League.
Correct. Would you, given Mourinho's style of play, you've got.
No, I wouldn't want Mourinho. I mean, I'm not saying you should have got. Although, if you look at your numbers, Mourinho has done so much better than anyone else since.
Mourinho and Solskjaer both got second place.
Yeah, but he won 2 things. Solskjaer never won anything.
Solskjaer never won anything. Yeah, no, Mourinho is. You can't deny his talent. He's awesome, but he ruffles up the players the wrong way, which, in my opinion, is what was needed at Man U. They should have backed him more strongly and got rid of some players, but they didn't. They got rid of him.
Who is Manchester United in the StreamWars?
Who is Manchester United? I think MUTV will eventually morph into.
No, I mean in the Netflix versus CNN versus.
Oh, who is Manchester United? Probably HBO, because they're new-ish to the game with HBO Max.
I can tell you one thing: that in venture capital, A16Z is not Manchester United; it's Liverpool or Manchester City, and they are in the news as always. The Andreessen hurricane.
Yep.
Continues to destroy the rest of the world. What are they doing this week at A16Z?
So this is an inside
tsunami.
It's an inside Silicon Valley story, Andrew, because historically Andreessen gave money to Y Combinator companies, and then stopped, along with pretty much every other venture capitalist, as they became competitive with Y Combinator. Recently, we talked about Sequoia launching an accelerator. Well, now Andreessen has launched one. And in the case of Andreessen, they're one-upping Sequoia. They're giving $1 million to every accepted entrant into their START program. And you can be an entrant with, for example, you, Andrew King, could apply with the idea for Now TV with no team, and you would qualify if they like the idea.
Yeah. Well, it's a smart idea, right? I mean, they got the money.
Yeah, and they're backing individuals, which has proven to be very successful in a British company called Entrepreneur First. They really are really good at finding good people, letting the idea come out of the program that they run, and then funding the company with a team with the idea. And that team was not in place on day one. It emerged out of their
program. Is this A16Z news? Does this underline your argument you've been making quite often of the fact that the bigger venture capital companies are also becoming accelerators, and that everyone's everywhere?
Well, everyone's getting pushed early because the amount of money coming later is growing fast. And you either have to compete with that, which means writing very, very large checks quite early at the B round and onwards, or you have to go and be the miner that mines the rich streams of startups and find the good ones before those big guys get in. And if you're Andreessen, you got to do all of the above. You don't just focus on one thing, you do all of it. And insofar as this is successful, it will pay rich rewards, as it has done to Y Combinator. You only need 1 or 2 chickens that lay the golden egg to make it worthwhile, and that's exactly what they're doing. I think what you're seeing is the rebundling of venture capital. Previously unbundled into seed, venture, and growth. It's now rebundling into big piles of money doing everything.
And of course, Elon Musk remains in the news, Twitter in the news, front page of every newspaper. I'm not sure if he needs to do it, but what is the current situation in terms of Musk's supposed attempt to acquire Twitter? Who knows what he's really doing?
Yeah, a couple of interesting things this week. The first is the center of gravity of the conversation has shifted from free speech, which was last week's big story, to open APIs and a distributed Twitter, which is more what we're interested in. And we, meaning me and you.
Dorsey was always very interested in that, right?
Yeah. So this is Stratechery talking about how that might happen. It's a very good piece, highly recommended. It's one of his free newsletters, so you can all go and read it. And secondly, Musk did announce that he secured the money required to buy Twitter via a partnership with Morgan Stanley. Doesn't mean he's going to get it, but he's now in place where if they'll do the deal, he can pay for it. But what I was more interested in is the other stuff. And this just tells you a lot about Musk. The first thing is the company that digs the tunnels to create the possibility of the air gravity tube train raised $675 million this week. And Musk tweeted a recruitment tweet, really asking people who want a good job to go and work at the Boring Company. And then the second thing is Tesla had a record quarter, making a profit of several $billion, which is the second quarter in a row. So Tesla's now, making cash in the billions quarter on quarter.
That really justifies how Wall Street's valuing Tesla. It always seemed a little insane, but now it makes complete sense.
Yeah. They really are eating the auto world. Ford is putting up a decent fight. Ford announced the electric Lincoln yesterday, and at least at the level of product is very impressive, but is less impressive in its ability to produce, because it just announced that the Mach-E, which is the car I bought, is sold out for 2022 completely. You can't order one because they can't make enough. And so that's staggering that Tesla can sell, they think, close to over 1 million vehicles this year, and Ford can't make enough because they're so hooked on the combustion engine production lines. They haven't got enough electric.
Yeah, well, to be fair to the traditional industry, no one could have expected the gas price or the Ukraine war. So
yeah,
it was a remarkable story, and for all of us, and I include myself very much in this, who wrote Musk off, who wrote off Tesla, it's an astonishing story. Really, really incredible. And he's clearly bored. He's got Tesla on auto drive, and now he wants other things.
I've listened to his interviews in the last week because I was trying to understand him better, and he's an incredibly troubled human being. He answers questions about whether other people should aspire to be him. He says, "Well, honestly, I don't think he would want to be me because I can't sleep. I've got all these ideas running through my head, and that's been true since I was in high school. I can't relax until I do the ideas that I think are real, and it's kind of nonstop. And I'm so committed to the ideas that on several occasions in my life, I've literally spent all my money on a new idea and had to borrow money from friends to be able to eat," which is all true. And so he sees himself as almost like, on the spectrum, the victim of a brain that won't turn off. He's very humble about it as well, by the way. So he's a very different animal than you might imagine.
What I'm curious about is Jack Dorsey. I mean, they're both on similar wavelengths in terms of reinventing Twitter. Why doesn't Dorsey just go back in? Was Dorsey pushed out?
Well, reading between the lines of what has become public in the last 2 weeks, I think the answer is probably. He, when asked why Twitter is not fulfilling its true potential, he answered on Twitter, a dysfunctional company. And given that he was the CEO, one assumes he tried to fix the dysfunction and failed. And one imagines the board was not unhappy to see him leave.
He's too smart. I mean, they're both very smart.
I think what it means, Andrew, is the problem at Twitter might be the board. The board of directors may be the problem because they're not big Twitter shareholders. They're power brokers, and they're strong personalities. I can't remember if Fred Wilson from Union Square Ventures is still on the board. He certainly used to be. But it's strong people that don't own a lot of shares but have opinions, and unless there's a shareholder vote to get rid of them, they run the show. And the CEO clearly is their person, and they run him. He doesn't run them.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I think that I tend to agree. I mean, I'm not in Musk's free speech camp, but I do agree that the product is incredibly stale, boring, and needs a radical reinvention. But it has the potential because it's got the membership there. I mean, if Reed Hastings was running it, he would never have allowed Netflix to fall into the limbo that Twitter is in. I mean, it's basically the same product that it was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
compare that to other companies like Netflix, successful companies, Netflix or
Airbnb, Uber.
well, I guess those, but yeah, it just hasn't moved.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think the problem is it's sort of it's almost everyone feels ownership of Twitter because everyone's on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, what about Crypto Corner? It's just the corner this week, crypto. It's usually the star of the show.
Crypto corner and no venture section really to speak of either. So Crypto Corner, a couple of things. Andreessen has been very active this week, by the way, announced A16Z Crypto Research, which is meant to be a think tank and they call it an industrial research lab for crypto. They're really leaning into it. And they also went on the record reacting to the SEC's suggested language governing what is and what is not an exchange, a crypto exchange, which has all kinds of tax implications and structural implications. So it's interesting how tech and politics are merging into an area, highly contested area, where innovation is either being accelerated due to the absence of policy or held up due to the likelihood of policy. And I think crypto is one that's being held up. It's going way slower than it should, mainly because of the lack of clear regulations.
Well, that's again highly predictable.
But the biggest news of the week is that you can now get NFTs on Coinbase, which is going to challenge OpenSea for the leadership of the NFT world. You can't get in there yet. There's a waiting list. I tried, but yeah, it is.
Is it easier to do that or to get an electric Ford?
It's easier to do that because electric Fords, there's no known date at which there will be one available. I paid.
You'll probably resell yours for double what you pay.
I was just about to say, readers, if you want a Ford Mustang Mach-E Performance Edition GT that cost $81,000 out of the gate, which sounds a lot, but compare it to the price of a Tesla, you see it's not a lot. Yeah, I would sell it for 20% premium to my buy price.
Has it been sprayed with bullets?
It has not.
Yet.
Happy to say. It hasn't even been traveling. It hasn't been driven by a driver that's likely to attract that kind of attention either.
Good. Well, that's important. Essay of the week, Keith.
Yeah, essay of the week comes from a service that is getting more and more impressive by the week, which is called protocol.com. Protocol.com just has really, really good coverage. And this is a story about everything that's going on in streaming, CNN, Netflix, the stuff we talked about.
Yeah.
It's tough to be a streaming service. My headline would be, it's tougher to not be a streaming service.
What's the alternative?
Exactly. That's exactly the point. So it's becoming competitive, which is great for us. And Janko Rotgers, who has a Twitter stream, wrote all about it, and it is it goes over ground we've already gone over, so I won't repeat it, but it's well worth a read.
And then tweet of the week.
And tweet of the week. Oh, you've missed startup of the week. Is that on purpose?
Oh, I forgot. Startup of the week.
Startup of the week is back to Elon. Elon said that the human robot called Optimus that they're building will be worth more than the car business and more than FSD, which is known as full self-driving.
Well, no one buys FSD, do they?
Some people do, but now you can subscribe to it, so you don't have to. But he's basically predicting that this business will be bigger than the car business. It's a 5'8" robot. It relies on neural network work. It relies on supercomputing. It relies on a lot of innovations in balance and
is it?
movement.
It's not a Tesla product.
It is a Tesla product right now, as far as I know, and it's being targeted at things like grocery shopping or human drudgery, is what he says, which is a massive low-hanging fruit. If you literally could have a robot get in your self-driving car, go to Safeway, pick up your groceries and pay for them, get back in the car and come home, imagine how life-changing that would be. One wonders whether it's worth the effort compared to, let's say, Safeway bringing the stuff to you, but still.
Yeah. So, have you read Clara and the Sun? I mean, the future really. If this happens, then we really are in science fiction land.
Yeah. Well, it works.
I mean, so the robot drives the Tesla connection is that the robot will drive the Tesla.
It won't even drive it. The Tesla will drive itself. The Tesla is a robot, and the robot will be a robot. The only difference is the robot has arms and legs and cameras for eyes and microphones for ears, and will be capable of interaction with other human beings and, using computer vision, identify the groceries you want, put them in a bag, and pay for them.
And he says that's going to be ready by next year.
I don't know if he said next year. He just said it's going to be worth more than the car business. Did he say next year?
2023 or no?
First introduced in August 21. Let's just have a look. 2023, he says, yeah. But he's always wrong on timing.
San Francisco. Have you seen any in Palo Alto?
No, he's always wrong on timing. So you can take 2023 with a pinch of salt, but he's not wrong on direction.
I don't know why he's wasting his time on Twitter, really, given these profoundly disruptive products like a real robot, like tunneling, all this stuff. I mean, why Twitter is such a boring product and such a boring debate. I don't know why.
Why do any of us get obsessed about anything? It's an open question.
Well, he's shown tremendous vision in Tesla. He could have started something else. Thiel said that we supposed to get flying cars, and we got Twitter. Musk could have made the error of trying to do flying cars. I mean, some of them are doing flying cars.
Yeah.
I don't see many of them in the air either.
When we look back through his life, it isn't going to be about Twitter. I think that's for sure.
Whatever happens, yeah. I mean, it's a weird. I mean, there's clearly parts of his makeup that are dysfunctional, that he's just not thinking straight. But...
Well, he the biggest thing I learned this week, which I should have known but didn't, is SpaceX. The first 3 attempts to fly failed, and the 4th one succeeded, and they were completely out of money. And he couldn't find a lead engineer to do the engineering, so he became the lead engineer on SpaceX 4, and it succeeded, and that led to a lot of further investment. So he clearly, he's an engineer, and he tries really hard to engage socially, but he's awkward. He's kind of awkward. He's shy, actually, which you don't think.
You can tell that from that interview at TED.
Yeah.
Very different from Bezos, very different from Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Very different even from Zuckerberg. Okay, tweet of the week.
Tweet of the week this week comes from Avichal from Electric Capital. And Electric Capital is kind of stunning because it has raised $1 billion for a crypto fund investing in Web3. If we click on this story, software ate the world, it will eat venture capital too. And it's the story of why Avichal from Electric Capital believes that investments will be made by software, not by human beings, in the not too distant future, using DAOs and gathering capital from everybody in order to channel it into what the software says are the best opportunities. The most successful venture firms of the 2020s will be software enabled and led by software engineers. And what the tweet says is that why are 68% of Electric Capital's teams engineers and designers? And this is the answer to that question. Now, obviously, I'm self-interested because Signal Rank is also a software-driven venture capital company. And so I believe in this, but it's nice to see other people believe in it too.
Yeah, but you're not a DAO.
He's not a DAO either at this moment in time.
But he's promising, because it's the DAO piece that's the most interesting.
The DAO piece is definitely the most interesting.
There's no Sequoia or A to Z in this. It's just investors and software. That's it.
Yeah. If you go to their website, this is their website, Building the Future of Web3. We invest in a next generation iconic founders. So they are kind of hands-on investors doing capital allocation, human capital allocation, but they're predicting their own demise. Their approach, here it is. We're looking for founders who see the future. So that's not different than Andreessen. So they're not really a Web3 entity yet, but they're investing in Web3 stuff using, old-fashioned techniques.
Interesting. Well, and compared to Musk's robot, it seems more realizable. It doesn't seem completely absurd to me. And if it doesn't seem absurd to me, then it probably isn't, because I tend to be more conservative, right?
It isn't absurd. And for what it's worth, I've actually spoken indirectly digitally to him this week. Signal Rank could potentially have a Web3 liquidity strategy, let's call it. That is to say, if you own our shares, how do you turn them into dollars that you can spend? And a partnership with Electric could definitely.
What do you mean indirectly? You talked to him?
We didn't do a face-to-face. We did it across digital media.
You actually did talk, though. You didn't just message him.
No, we messaged. He messaged. Yeah. And I have a new section, Andrew. Bonus tweets.
Oh. Well, this is a long show, so let's end on a bonus tweet.
So the bonus tweets are there's stuff.
Tweet or tweet?
It's tweets because there's two of them, and it was because these are must reads, and I wanted to squeeze them in. The first is Michael Louie explaining why he failed to raise a $100 million venture fund. It is absolutely must read for anyone who wants to do venture capital. It's really good. And the second is Mark Andreessen, who has thrown his hat in the ring with Elon Musk. His tweet at the bottom says, "Shut up," Obama explained, which is his comment on Obama's talk yesterday calling for the regulation of social media. And announcement of a Clubhouse forum on the most human right of all, why free speech is everything, a book by Eric Heinze, who I think you should probably interview on your show.
Yeah, I should. I was thinking of that.
And that is the bonus tweets this week.
Well, Andreessen will, whatever he touches politically will be bad, so he'll make himself even more unpopular than he already is. Not that he cares, right?
I think he does care, actually. That's why he's so touchy about blocking people on Twitter. And Mark, if you ever do watch this, you blocked me on Twitter, and I don't think I ever did anything to deserve that. So.
Why did he block you? How did he block you? What does that mean? You can't follow him?
You can't see his tweets or follow him. Yeah, if you block someone on Twitter, they can't do anything with you.
How old is he?
Andreessen, he must be getting towards 50 by now.
And how old are you, Keith?
I'm only 33, but, I look old.
Yeah, I mean, it's so pathetic. Why would anyone block? I mean, 6-year-old people blocking one another. It's like so infantile. I hope you've modified your free speech fetish. I mean, I agree with you. I think that Twitter would be better off if they let Trump on and all these other distasteful characters. But
I just don't like curating what human beings get to hear. I like them to make their own choices.
yeah, I don't necessarily disagree, especially on something like Twitter that's so boring in the first place. It's weird though with Trump. It feels like no one knows where he is because he's not on Twitter.
Yeah, well, no, look, let's be honest. Nobody wants Trump back when it comes to the question, do you want Trump back? That's an easy question to say no to. But do you want free speech on Twitter is an easy thing to say yes to. And unfortunately, if you want that, Trump's going to end up coming back. That isn't the reason you want it, but it's going to be part of what happens.
Well, that was the week for April 22, 2022. Lots of twos. Keith and I did a twosome, and we will be back on April 29th. Actually, I'm in Europe, Keith, but maybe.
I'm also in Europe. I think we should tell people we're probably not going to do a video next week.
Our millions of viewers will have to think of something else to do next Friday. But we're back in 2 weeks, so have a good couple of weeks. Have fun in Hungary, Keith, and we'll talk in a couple of weeks.
Yes. Bye, everyone. Thank you, Andrew.